I caught my sister, Sarah, kissing my boyfriend, Tom, just a week before her wedding. I even told her fiancé about it, thinking he wouldn't care, but at the wedding, he shocked everyone with his reaction. I'm 28, and my sister is 26 while Tom is 29, with her wedding coming up. I noticed that Sarah's behavior around Tom was strange. At first, it was small things, like her laughing too much at his jokes and saying things like, "You're so funny," even when his jokes weren't that amusing. She would often touch him lightly or stand too close, and her long glances made me feel really uncomfortable. I tried to brush it off as just friendly behavior due to wedding excitement, but over time, it felt more like flirting. One evening, after a family dinner where Sarah was extra flirtatious, I asked Tom if he noticed anything odd. He just shrugged and said I was overthinking it. Still feeling uneasy, I watched them closely. I saw Sarah always trying to sit near Tom and asking for his help with wedding details even when I was right there. Then, at a family barbecue, I saw them talking closely in a corner. When I came back from the bathroom, Sarah and Tom quickly moved apart, and Sarah acted like nothing was wrong. That night, I asked Tom about their conversation, but he claimed they were just discussing wedding details. Even though they were uncomfortably close, I got upset and said that Sarah was flirting with him and he wasn't doing anything about it. Tom looked hurt and said, "What do you expect me to do? She's your sister. I'm just being polite." He kept insisting there was nothing to worry about, leaving our conversation stuck. Feeling frustrated, I decided to confront Sarah directly. I asked her to meet for coffee. When we met, she seemed cheerful and unaware of my concerns. After a few minutes, I told her, "We need to talk about something important." I explained that I had noticed her flirting with Tom, her extra laughs, touches, and lingering looks. Sarah was surprised and then angry. She denied everything, saying, "You're being ridiculous. Tom is practically family. I'm just being friendly." Suddenly, she stood up and said, "I'm not going to listen to your paranoid accusations. If you can't trust your own sister, that's your problem." Then she stormed out. When I got home, Tom noticed I was upset. I told him what happened, and he sighed. "I think you made a big mistake." He was worried about hurting Sarah, especially with her wedding so close. I asked, "Are you taking her side?" And he quickly reassured me that he wasn't, but he still doubted that Sarah was flirting with him. He thought I should have handled things differently. Feeling hurt, I asked, "So what was I supposed to do, just ignore it?" Tom hugged me and said gently, "I just think there might have been a better way to handle this." I pulled away, feeling overwhelmed, and asked, "So is this all my fault?" I needed to know if he really thought I was to blame. He sighed deeply, struggling for words, and said he didn't want to blame me entirely, but he did think I had overreacted by letting my emotions control me. We argued for a while, but it was clear we wouldn't agree. We both saw things differently, and neither of us was willing to see the other's side. Eventually, he went to bed, leaving me alone with my racing thoughts and doubts. In the following days, the tension only grew. My sister stopped speaking to me, and there was a painful distance between us. My parents, noticing Sarah's distress, called to ask why she was so upset. When I tried to explain, I could tell they also thought I had overreacted. As the wedding day got closer, I felt more and more unsure of what to do. I was supposed to be a bridesmaid, a role that now felt like a heavy burden. I even wondered if Sarah still wanted me by her side. Tom was still invited, and he suggested that we both go to show there were no hard feelings. But the idea of watching my sister walk down the aisle, knowing how angry and hurt she was, made me feel sick. Everything was a tangled mess, and I didn't know how to fix it without causing more pain. I tried calling Sarah several times, but she never answered. I left voicemails apologizing and asking to talk, but nothing changed. I even went to her apartment, but she wouldn't open the door. My anxiety grew as the wedding neared. Even though I wasn't sure what to believe, Tom kept urging me to let go, saying that everything would eventually blow over. That night, I had a terrible dream. I arrived at the wedding, and everyone stared at me, whispering and pointing. I woke up shaking, cold with dread. Update: after I confronted Sarah, things got worse. When she told our mother about what I had said, Mom became furious. She called me, yelling that right before Sarah's wedding, I could be so selfish. "How could you accuse your own sister like that?" she shouted. She wouldn't let me explain my side and just told me to fix the problem and apologize to Sarah immediately. The family stress became unbearable. Sarah still wouldn't talk to me, and now even my parents were upset with me. Tom kept saying that I was making a big deal out of nothing, which only made me feel more depressed and angry. I even went to my parents' house to try to make things right. Then, 1 week before the wedding, I heard quiet voices from the side of the house. I walked to the garden and stopped in shock. There, partly hidden behind a big plant, were Sarah and Tom in a passionate hug. They kissed deeply, Sarah's legs around Tom's waist and his hand under her top. They were so absorbed in each other that they didn't notice me standing there. It felt like a punch in the stomach. I couldn't move or speak for a moment as the reality sank in. Overwhelmed with anger and betrayal, I screamed, "What the hell is this?" My voice trembled with emotion. Both of them reacted immediately. Sarah's face turned pale, and Tom stammered, "It's not what it looks like," but it was exactly as it looked. Every fear and suspicion I had was confirmed. Tears streamed down my face as I choked. "How could you, my own sister, and my boyfriend?" The pain was clear in my voice. Sarah started crying and tried to apologize, saying, "I'm so sorry, we didn't mean for this to happen," but I couldn't listen to their excuses. The betrayal was too deep. I turned and ran back to my car. They called desperately for me to come back, but I didn't answer. As I drove away, my mind spun with disbelief and hurt. My phone rang again and again, from Tom, then Sarah, then Mom, but I couldn't face any of them. When I finally reached home, I felt numb. I quickly packed a bag with some clothes and essentials. I couldn't stay there after what had happened. I sent Tom one final text, "We're done. Don't try to contact me again." Then I turned off my phone and left. Now, I'm writing this from a hotel in a nearby city, unsure of what to do next. With the wedding only a few days away, I know I can't attend. My relationship is over, and the bond one had with my sister might be broken forever. It feels like my whole world has been turned upside down. Everyone made me feel crazy for suspecting something was wrong, but in the end, I was right. The pain of knowing the truth is almost too much to bear, and I wonder if I will ever trust anyone again. So, Reddit, I need advice on how to move forward. Update. After the shocking discovery of Sarah with my ex-boyfriend Tom, I spent several days in a fog. My phone kept buzzing with messages and missed calls from both of them, and from my parents, but I was too hurt to answer. Eventually, I decided that Mark, Sarah's fiancé, needed to know the truth. With a heavy heart, I called him. When he answered, I could hear the confusion in his voice as he asked, "What's going on?" He mentioned that Sarah had been very upset and that I had disappeared without answering calls. I took a deep breath and explained everything, my suspicions, how Tom and Sarah brushed off my concerns, and finally, what I saw in the garden. Mark listened quietly, occasionally making a small sound to show he was following. After I finished, there was a long, heavy silence. Then, in a calm voice, he thanked me for telling him and said he needed time to process it. Then he ended the call. I sat there, staring at my phone, wondering what Mark would do now that he knew the truth. As the wedding day approached, I heard nothing more from him or from the rest of the family. Sarah stopped trying to reach me, and I began to suspect she had convinced Mark to forgive her. The thought that she might escape the consequences, having her fairy tale wedding while my life was in ruins, made me feel sick. I knew I couldn't attend the wedding. Instead, I planned to spend that day alone, trying to rebuild my life after such deep betrayal. On the evening of the wedding, I received a surprising call from my cousin Emma. With excitement in her voice, she said, "Oh my God, you won't believe what just happened." Confused and curious, I asked her what had occurred. Emma explained that everything had seemed normal at first. Sarah looked beautiful in her wedding dress, and Mark was standing at the altar ready for the ceremony. But when it was time for the vows, Mark stepped forward and said he had something to say. My heart pounded as Emma described how Mark announced in front of everyone that he couldn't go through with the wedding. He said he could not marry someone who had betrayed her own sister and hurt her deeply. Emma continued, saying that Sarah turned pale at his words. Then, to everyone's shock, Mark apologized to my parents and said they needed to know why I had distanced myself. Sarah started crying, my parents looked shocked, and the guests began whispering, trying to understand what was happening. Mark then left the church, and Sarah was left alone, sobbing at the altar. It was like a scene from a movie. Emma asked, "Are you okay?" And I replied, "I'm not sure. I never wanted things to end like this." After talking a little more, I hung up and sat quietly, trying to sort through my thoughts. I realized that although the truth was out, it hadn't fixed anything. My friendship with Sarah was broken, my relationship with Tom was over, and now my whole family was in crisis. Healing and rebuilding trust would take a long time, but for the first time, I felt a bit of relief knowing the truth was finally known. I'm not sure what comes next. I know I'll have to face my family eventually, but for now, I'm taking one day at a time. This experience has taught me to trust my gut and stand up for myself, even when others try to make me doubt my own feelings. Thank you to everyone who supported me through this. Your words of encouragement mean more than you know. And to anyone going through something similar, trust your instincts and don't let anyone make you doubt your own feelings. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And hit the notification bell to stay updated with more real-life stories.